Hello there, this is Debbie Heiser, and I am so stinking excited to share this new season 4 with you. And I can't believe that this is already the 4th season of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. And I just want to thank each of you who listen. And my hope is that the tools, the thoughts and experiences I share, as well as the work I've done to love myself, love others, and love the work I'm called to do, that also helps me lead a truly lit up life, will help you move into a more lit up life yourself. A few things to look for in this season. Super excited to share that we're going to be coming to you now every week with episodes jam-packed with information to serve you. Every other week, you'll hear from a guest who's leading a life that they love, and I'll be asking them to share their stories, how they got there, and any thoughts or advice that they can give you, our loyal listeners. We have new music too, and I'm so thrilled to introduce this song called Ride, sung and co-written by my friend, Miss Jackie Wilson. And she, along with her collaborators, Tyler Banks, David DJ Lee, and Chris Renee, are super talented and generous, as this song fits perfectly into the thought of stepping into your best life. To follow any or all of these talented folks, check out the show notes for their social handles. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy season 4 and do us a solid and leave us a rating and a comment to help us be able to share more with people across the globe. Now, let's get started with this episode.
You're the only one who really can transform your mind.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lead Your Lit Up Life with Debbie Heiser. I am Debbie Heiser. I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what's important to them so that they can go out and live the life that they want. And I am super excited to have Adam with us today. Adam and I met, what year was it, Adam, that we talked on the phone?
Oh, I want to say it was early 2019.
Okay. Wow. That feels like it was a long time ago, but yeah, in a good way. Right. But yeah, like it wasn't that long ago, but back in 2019, I got an email, I think, from you that said, "Hey, I'd like to have a conversation with you. I'm thinking about doing this program at Gonzaga as a coach and what that looks like." We talked on the phone and then moved forward a couple of years. And I was a TA for the class that I now teach at Gonzaga. And Adam was in the class, and I think you figured it out before I did, but then we both kind of had this awareness that, oh yeah, we're the ones that talked on the phone about the program. And Adam, I don't know if you know this, but you just have this like intensity about you. And when I say intensity, I mean like a good intensity of, I am here for a purpose. I want to be mindful about what I do. I want to show up as my best self for people. And that's a really rare quality that people have, in my opinion. And so that just really intrigued me, not only because we're friends and colleagues, but also because I wanted to have this conversation about like what drives you to do what you do. So we're going to get into that here in a minute, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself and what you do professionally.
Well, thank you so much, Debbie, for having me on. It's wonderful to be here and to see you today. Always love seeing the artwork in your office as well. And thank you for the compliment too, regarding intensity and showing up for others. It's always interesting to receive that feedback from others about ourselves. My name is Adam Gierlach. I'm a leadership coach. I help leaders become servant leaders and increase the capacity of individuals to lead. I'm a student of servant leadership. I'm a student in the doctoral program in leadership studies at Gonzaga University. And I'm a former Division I men's college basketball coach. So prior to transitioning to leadership coaching, I spent about a decade coaching men's college basketball.
Yeah. So do you get into March Madness as much as I do?
I think you might have a little bit more of a rooting interest, being a Jayhawks fan, but it's March Madness is always one of those wonderful holidays, wonderful times of year that comes around. that first weekend and four straight days of basketball, when I was in middle school and high school, and it was often be around spring break, and you just got to watch basketball all day. And now not being a coach, it's nice to be a fan a little bit and having a Gonzaga connection, and certainly rooting for the Zags with all the success that they've had recently. So it's definitely fun being a fan, and then also just being interested in supporting a lot of friends and colleagues and clients that are playing in March Madness as well. So it's a wonderful time of year to share in the success of others, or not necessarily sharing, but celebrate the success of others. And so that's more so what draws me to March Madness now.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so one last question about that. Do you fill out brackets?
I do not fill out brackets anymore. No filling out brackets anymore.
Yeah, my son and I have two. We have the one that we think is going to happen, and then the one that always has KU as the winner.
There you go. Well, one of these days, hopefully those two actually line up.
They have in the past, but we're hoping soon that that's the case. Yeah. So Adam, talk about a little bit about your journey. Like, as a kid, did you see yourself as a Division I? Excuse me. A Division I college coach?
Yeah. What a great question. Being a college basketball coach was all I wanted to do since I was 10 years old. I'm not blessed with the genetics that a lot of basketball players have. I'm definitely on the shorter side, the less athletic side. And so there was some awareness early on that, hey, maybe playing at the highest level wouldn't be in my future. So coaching basketball was all I ever wanted to do. And lots of my friends and relatives joke that when I was an undergrad at Rice, I majored in basketball and studied history on the side,
That's awesome.
as opposed to, exactly. And so that was, I loved the technical aspect of the game. I loved the strategy involved. I loved, developing scouting reports and recruiting student athletes as well, and trying to project out what their futures might be. And so that was, for the longest time, all I ever wanted to do, in life, was coach basketball.
Yeah. So then why the switch? What made you switch into being a, business / leadership / life coach from basketball?
Yeah, what a wonderful question. Yeah, I was an assistant coach at Cornell University up in Ithaca, New York, and I had a big shift, a transformative shift in values and priorities, where leadership became much less about me and much more about others. There had been some awareness that the success of others were really always had been disguised as my success, been my game plan, my scouting report, my recruiting of a student athlete, and more concerned with moving up a hierarchy or career ladder rather than serving others in a way that resulted in their growth as persons. And, in between my 2 seasons at Cornell, I was passed up for jobs that I thought I deserved. I took the job originally as a potential stepping stone to move up in my career, and was passed up for jobs I thought I deserved, and then had a relationship end as well with someone who I'd planned with someone who we had planned a future. And so kind of in those moments, everything about who I was and what I had thought my future would be kind of vanished in just a moment. I had laid out this path of moving on to a higher level, and had this vision of what my life would look like. And then boom, like it was gone within the span of a month or two. And, I was left, I found myself in this situation that I didn't think I would be in. And it caused me to take a look internally a little bit and do some self-assessment about, hey, where I am now, where am I finding myself now? Is this how I want things to be? And the answer across the board for me was no, it wasn't how I wanted things to be. And then starting from there and working towards working towards developing a different vision for what would be actually fulfilling to me, or what the results I actually wanted would be. And so somewhere along that journey to answer those questions for myself, I was confronted with a lot of the ways that I had caused harm, pain, darkness, and diminishment within others, which led to some of that shift in vision of leadership, and then feeling called to move towards a different vision and purpose, and a different vision for leadership, fortunately just stumbled across this field of leadership coaching and professional coaching that I didn't quite know or understand at the time. In basketball, if you had asked me who or what is a professional coach, I would have said, I'm a professional coach. There's no other form of coaching. We both know that the world of professional coaching is often a wholly different discipline than the world of athletic coaching. And so stumbled across this field of leadership coaching and saw this as a way to express my vision for leadership every day through what I do, and serve others in a way that results in our collective growth as persons as well.
Yeah. So tell me, Adam, if you had to like put into a few sentences how you serve other people, what do you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. People ask, as you say, well, how do you do that? And people ask, what does it look like to be a coach? And I smile and laugh and joke and say, hey, there's a lot of listening and a lot of question asking. And like at its core, that's really what it is. It's it's developing presence with others and being with someone else in that moment, and lots of listening and lots of question asking. And well, how does that actually do anything? We're used to providing advice, answers, solutions, and tactics for others, thinking that we have to have the answers for others. And in my previous job as a basketball coach, as a tactical coach or a teacher or an instructor, that was often what I was tasked with. I had to have a scouting report. This is how we're going to beat this team. Here's how you pass a ball or shoot a ball correctly. And while that's great, maybe great for technical capacities or technical things, fixed problems, known solutions, right, it's often becomes limited or limiting with adaptive challenges where the situation is unknown and has an unknown solution, and what someone else might be wanting to move towards is different than what we're wanting to move towards. And so to impose solutions on others in those situations can often be limited and limiting, rather than the more open or fuller expression of helping someone move into a fuller version of themselves, or more greatly clarify what it is they're actually wanting to move towards and how to show up for themselves and others in more life-giving ways. And so, how it first shows up is as a listener and providing space for others. I think there's a beautiful quote from Robert Greenleaf that true listening builds strength in others. And so hopefully it's one of those things. And as a listener, I can honor the unique expressions of others as well. I think it shows up in being connected to others and developing a strong presence, and being able to witness beautiful expressions of humanity and hopefully draw those out to a greater degree. And then hopefully it also shows up as being a loving presence. I think Bell Hooks wrote that, that love is the healing force that brings sustained peace. And so hopefully it shows up as a loving presence for others as well.
Fantastic. And tell me too, Adam, like you talk about being present, and I know you and I do some work. Adam has helped me even in the class that I teach at Gonzaga. And part of that is around presencing. What are some things that you do? Because in this fast-paced world and technology and all the distractions, right? I have a squirrel that sits across from me to remind me not to squirrel out. Yeah. All these distractions. What do you do to stay present?
Yeah, great question. You highlight there's so much that draws us away from that, perhaps. And I'll highlight that, I'm guilty as anybody of falling into that squirreling out or lack of presence. The phone sits here next to my computer and I grab and reach for it a little bit more than I would hope to.
Okay. Do you know there's this new thing on there called focus? And then I'm going to let you finish telling us how you stay present.
So on client sessions and things like this, the do not disturb goes on, and the focus goes on.
Yeah,
but for some reason, for me. Yeah. So how do you use it? How and when do you use focus?
Like right now, I've had it on almost all day when I'm here. Okay. Now, in case of emergency, people, my two sisters and my son, they will come through, right? Mm-hmm. And my daughter-in-law. But otherwise nothing pops up on my phone. I mean, people will message me, but it doesn't show up. It doesn't come on. And then I'll go check it periodically through the day, but typically until about 4:00, like about 10 to 4, I have it on, because otherwise I squirrel out into those things, and I don't need that extra squirrel out. So what are some other things? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's been such a game changer for me. I had to bring it up.
No, I love it, and I appreciate you sharing it. That's why I asked you
Yeah.
as well. So, one, I start days with a just a 10-minute daily silence practice. This was first introduced to me by Larry Spears, who is the was next in line, so to speak, after Robert Greenleaf, with really furthering servant leadership in our society, and serves as I think the scholar in residence, or I don't know the official title for servant leadership at Gonzaga University. So he teaches their servant leadership course in the master's program, and then also a course called Listen, Discern, Decide, in which he introduces a 10-minute daily silence practice to students. So I've kept that with me and begin my days with that after breakfast and coffee and those sort of things. I also do a gratitude practice in the morning, just 3 things that I'm grateful for from the previous day. I think that maybe grounds and centers me back in kind of just where I am now, and some of the beautiful things in my life. And then we're both fortunate to know Dr. Jack Horseman, who developed the course that you teach at Gonzaga University in the master's program. And he developed a beautiful practice called the 4 breaths presencing practice. And I do that before client sessions, before conversations like this, before things that are important to me that I'm really wanting to emphasize being grounded and centered for. And I think, as he writes in the development of the practice, that it's not a meditation, it's a grounding and centering practice to prepare us for what's to come next. And so hopefully that brings me back to presence a little bit more, so I'm more prepared for whatever comes next.
Yeah. So Adam, okay, what drew you to Gonzaga? I mean, I know we had a conversation about like what the program could help you do as a coach, but what drew you to Gonzaga?
Yeah,
let's plug Gonzaga there for a second.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Right. It's been such a valuable experience in both of our lives, and a valuable point of connection in both of our lives. I'd highlighted earlier that the vision for leadership that I had moved toward was less about me and more about others. And I was, wanting to move towards some expression of that in my life. And, as I was transitioning out of basketball, I had conversations with a number of individuals, and one of them had put a bug in my ear for Gonzaga's program. And I kind of dismissed it out of hand at the time. I had not returned to higher education, and I had no desire to do so at the time. But I had been enrolled in a coach training and coach education course at Rice University's Doer Institute for New Leaders. They run coach training and coach education, in addition to providing leadership coaching for all students on campus at Rice University, free of charge to the students. And as I moved through that experience, I saw how I had been transformed by additional education, and it became, this impactful experience for me. And then I also saw how much farther I had to go, and the responsibility involved if I was to really serve clients in life-giving ways. And I said, I think I need to go back and get the master's. And so I started researching programs online. Had jotted down that note previously from this individual about Gonzaga's program. And as I was researching programs, I was coming across a lot of programs that said, hey, get this degree in leadership so you can advance in your career. And if leadership is to be about others, I think that messaging is really problematic. Where just inherent in that messaging is the positioning of leadership as career development, or leadership or leadership as being about the leader rather than being about others. And so I was naturally turned away from those types of programs. I stumbled across Gonzaga's program, did further research, and saw a video online of Larry Spears talking about Robert Greenleaf's foundational definition for the servant leader. The servant leader is servant first rather than leader first. The best test, being, do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become wiser, healthier, freer, more autonomous, better able to serve others? And what's the impact on the least privileged in society? Will they benefit, or at least not be further deprived? And all of a sudden, it felt like I had this, someone had put into words this definition for leadership, or this vision for leadership, a philosophy for leadership that I had been struggling to articulate since things really began to change for me. And so after discovering that, I said, I think this is the program for me. Earlier in my life, I'd been very resistant to servant leadership. How it had first been presented to me was as a freshman or a sophomore in college basketball when I was a student manager and doing things that student managers do, which is doing laundry, wiping sweat off the floor, passing out water, acts that some could view as being a slave or servant or in servitude towards others. And when it was expressed, when servant leadership was expressed to me at that time, it wasn't connected to Greenleaf's definition about serving others' highest priority needs. It was connected to being in servitude towards others. And so that wasn't the position I wanted to be in. I didn't see the value in it because I was young at the time and wanting to be a coach, not pass out water. And so I didn't see the value in that definition. And then the other,
I think you bring up, though, really quick, Adam, I think you bring up something important, that the context of where you were at helped define that for you, right?
The context certainly helped define it. In finding myself in this position of, seemingly being a one down all the time. And it felt like someone was using power over me to keep me in that position, which I didn't enjoy as well. But the context certainly played a role. And then the other place where it was coming up a lot, or where I was seeing a lot, was servant leadership in connection to serving Christ or Jesus. And I'm Jewish, was raised Jewish. And so naturally I saw those and said, hey, I don't think this servant leadership thing is for me, or I don't think this servant leadership thing is for me. I didn't know that there was a different definition out there. I never heard Greenleaf's foundational definition. No one had ever presented it to me before. And I believe 1970 is when he wrote it. And so it still is very young in our history of leadership studies. But upon stumbling across that vision for leadership through researching master's programs, that's what drew me to Gonzaga's master's in organizational leadership program.
Nice. And I don't know about you, but I look at that program and I tell people, within that 2.5 years that I went through my master's, I did more study of myself and more introspection than I've ever done in my entire life. And I'm a growth mindset person. And I would assume you kind of feel the same way about that.
Yeah, it's funny. Lots of individuals move into the program thinking we're going to learn all the strategies and tactics and tools and things to do to others. And moving through the program, I think what I hear you saying is that, we take a self-reflective turn. I forget the fullness of the quote from Sharma that you use in the course a lot about,
the lens of curiosity.
The lens of curiosity takes the self-reflective turn that's necessary to move forward towards more effective and life-giving ways of being with ourselves and others. So
nice.
Yes, I had a very similar experience in that.
Yeah. So my last question for you, Adam, is what lights you up? What do you lose all sense of time? What just lights you up?
There's a number of things. We were skiing earlier this week. And so, that's one of the things that I've gotten into recently. And that really lights me up. It seems that time kind of goes away. A thread here will be something active or something in nature. Those are the things that really light me up. Hiking, spending time outside, working out is something that lights me up. Cooking, skiing, and sharing that with others. Obviously, it's there's a bit more connection when we're able to share it with others in loving and generous relationships. But what I return to, and something that I write down in my gratitude journal every day, is being with others in a way that supports our collective growth as persons. And I'm grateful for conversations like this light me up, and client sessions light me up, where hopefully I'm able to serve as a listener and being connected to someone else and being a loving presence for someone else as well. On a day-to-day basis, those are the things, those moments, those connections are the things that light me up.
Fantastic. And Adam, if someone wanted to find out a little bit more about you, maybe they fit that profile where they're looking for someone to help coach them, where can they find you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Social media would be a great place to start. Spelling of my last name, Gierlach, Gierlach. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter are the main places that I'm active on. LinkedIn, obviously a bit more on the professional side. And then my website is adamgcoaching.com, adamgcoaching.com.
Perfect. And I'll have that in the call notes as well, or the podcast notes as well. And Adam, thank you so much for being on. I so appreciate it. And I love having conversations with you. And Adam and I are going to be doing some teaching together in April. So I look forward to that as well. And actually, I think this is dropping right at the same week that we're going to be teaching. So with that, folks, if you would like to find out more about me, please head out to my website, www.leadyourlituplife.com. And I would love to have a 30-minute clarity session with you and help you get really clear on what your desires are. And so please sign up for a 30-minute free consultation. And with that, it's a wrap. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much, everyone.
Find your own kind of happy.